Chapter 513 Godly Seat, Realm of the Gods. Unless this is the work of an ultimate Diluo who has hidden himself from the prying eyes of the public, and it can't be just any ultimate Diluo, he or she must be a spiritual type ultimate Diluo whose power far exceeds that of the darkness holy dragon and the death god Diluo. This is the only possible explanation. In fact, this ultimate Diluo could very well be more powerful than the beast god. If not, why would the beast god fail to protect me when I possess his reverse scale? There can only be one answer. The beast god is not aware of this. Young fellow, stop guessing. Your guesses are all wrong. Who are you? I heard a gentle voice from afar, following which, he felt his senses turned inside out as everything that his soul could sense spiraled into a chaotic mess. He could feel a formless force transforming his surroundings into radiant colors before the colors started to pale into black and white. The black and white alternated continuously between one another as Who Are You found himself morphing between countless forms. But regardless of how the external world changed, Who Are You managed to keep his soul intact and out of harm's way. He managed to dispel all distractions from his mind and return to a calm state of mind by focusing on his spiritual energy and retaining it. After a temporary shock, he was able to collect himself. But he knew very well that regardless of what this external force was, it was not something that he could fend off. Hence, he knew there wasn't much point going against someone who was a lot more powerful than him, so chose to sit and wait for that person's next move. After all, they didn't seem to bear any malevolent intentions. He or she had merely abducted his soul. Since I can't figure out what you are up to, all I can do is wait. While it was only a short while, it felt like an eternity. His surroundings suddenly turned clear, and much to his surprise, Who Are You found himself regaining control over his soul. He was in a mountain valley, a valley which did not seem to be particularly unique. It was filled with blooming flowers, as well as grass and trees which seemed to be radiating vitality. The tall, majestic trees spread their branches and leaves to form a shady canopy. Up above the valley in the sky, rainbow clouds floated by from time to time. Who Are You had regained his human shape, but he was currently in his spiritual form. The only perception he had of the external world could only be described as comfortable. At this very moment, a peculiar thought formed in his head. How wonderful would it be if I could breathe in all the fresh air within this valley? The air in this valley must be very refreshing. It must be filled with the natural chi of heaven and earth. He found himself edging towards the depths of the valley subconsciously, and a pebbled path soon appeared before his feet. The path, which was sandwiched by the different flora beside it, extended into the depths of the valley. With the experience he had, Who Are You was able to identify many treasured herbs and spices. However, there were still so many plants which he could not recognize. Every single one of them seemed to be brimming with spiritual energy. The winding path continued straight into the center of the valley. Who Are You continued his walk for over 10 minutes until the sight before his eyes transformed abruptly. A pavilion had appeared before his eyes. Who Are You could see two people sitting within the pavilion. There was a good-looking young man on the left who looked approximately 27 years old. His long golden hair covered his shoulders as he exuded an all-encompassing Buddhist aura. There was an old man sitting opposite him. The old man's head was covered with snow-white hair, and his looks could not be plainer. However, he did not seem to possess the fatigue and soulless vibes which plagued most elderly people. Both of them did not seem to radiate any fluctuations of spiritual energy, and appeared to be engrossed in the game of chess. Who Are You knew nothing about chess, but he was certain that the two people before him were the ones who had connected his soul to this heaven-like place. Even though he didn't know where this place was, he had already calmed himself down after being brought here. Who Are You made his way to the pavilion slowly, and stopped by the chessboard. He stood there quietly and observed their game. Even though Who Are You didn't know how to play chess, he knew that one should not speak while watching a game of chess. Not disturbing someone else's game was a matter of manners and being polite. This game of chess appeared to be ending soon. The old man's brows were locked in a frown for an extended period of time before he moved his chess piece hesitantly. Conversely, the young man reacted very quickly and confidently, as though everything was going according to his calculations. Teacher, you have lost your composure. I'm afraid there's no chance of you beating me anymore. The golden-haired young man smiled. The old man scolded laughingly. You little brat. Since we started playing chess, you have never given me a chance to win. Sometimes, I regret training and guiding you for all those years. The young man revealed a smile. All right. Come on. Don't be angry. How about this? I'll prepare our lunch for today. The old man was visibly excited by the prospect of the young man's suggestion as he replied, Really? The young man nodded and reassured the old man. Cooking has always been an interest of mine. Why would I lie to you when you were the one who taught me how to cook? The old man seemed to be very pleased as he surrendered the chess game and spoke. Okay, I surrender. Now go and prepare lunch for us. The young man with the golden hair nodded and said, Okay, could you put the chess pieces away for me? All right. The old man waved his hand, and before anyone could see how he did it, the chess pieces floated naturally and separated themselves into clusters of black and white before returning to the boxes beside the chessboard. Who Are You was shocked by what he had just witnessed. The old man was able to move those pieces without giving away any fluctuation in his power. The young man with the golden hair stood up and stretched before heading to the other end of the pavilion. As he walked over there, he waved his hand at Who Are You before saying, Come and join us, little friend. Previously, when the young man was talking to the old man, Who Are You didn't sense anything wrong or unnatural with the way he spoke. But now that he was speaking to Who Are You, he found to his surprise that the young man's voice was exactly the same as the voice he had heard after his soul was sucked out of his body. Is he the powerful guy who brought me here? However, there was no way he could turn the young man down at this moment. Thus, Who Are You acknowledged the man's invitation and went after him. The old man remained seated where he was as his face revealed a smile. He muttered to himself, It seems like that little brat has also had moments when his emotions waver. If not, why would you be so anxious? But I must say your decision is quite unexpected. In fact, it is borderline insane. This is literally snatching one's prey from the jaws of a tiger, isn't it? But I must say I like it. Who Are You followed the young man with the golden hair to the other end of the pavilion, and noticed a small courtyard not too far from it. The entire courtyard was made from wood, and there were a few children playing around in it. There was a beautiful lady dressed in a red dress taking care of the children. Not too far from them, another beautiful lady dressed in blue was eating something. All of them seemed to be very blissful. This was obviously a family who was happily residing in a paradise away from the prying eyes of normal people. Who Are You suddenly felt envious of what he saw, even though he wasn't sure why he was feeling that way. When can I form a family with Wutong and live in a paradise like this? That would be so great. We would have a few children, and live happily ever after. The young man with the golden hair smiled, and asked, Are you very envious of what you're seeing? Who Are You nodded without hesitation. The young man smiled awkwardly. Actually, if anyone were to lead such a life for an extended period of time, he or she would most definitely feel lonely. I have multiple wives, but they're often not around me. Only the two of them, the ones before you, stayed to accompany me. The rest of them left to go out and play, and I don't know when they'll return. Multiple wives? Who Are You had not expected the young man to share this with him. He could not help but shake his head and reply, Isn't one wife enough already? The more partners one has, the likelier it is for people to part ways. The young man squeezed out a smile and replied, What he said makes sense. However, sometimes, it is not up to one to make that decision. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. We're going to prepare lunch now. It's not easy keeping this huge group of people happy and full every day. As he spoke, he led Who Are You into a room within the courtyard. It was almost as if the two beautiful ladies and the children did not see them at all. They merely continued with what they were doing. The young man led Who Are You into what seemed to be a kitchen. From outside the kitchen, it did not seem to be particularly big, but after entering the room, Who Are You found much to his surprise that it was much larger than it seems. It was at least 100 square meters. All the ingredients were placed in an organized manner in a certain area within the kitchen, while another area was reserved for the actual cooking process. The young man instructed, You can just stand here and watch. How much you would learn would depend on how much you can infer and absorb. As he finished his sentence, he made his way to the chopping area. At that very instant, Who Are You could sense a change within the young man. His breathing suddenly became slightly labored as a strong wave of pressure suffocated Who Are You soul, following which, the young man made his move. As he moved his right hand gently, his index and middle fingers extended into a small cloth bag next to the chopping board, and withdrew a small knife. The knife emerged from the bag with a reflective flash. It was less than 5 inches long, and its tip appeared to be very delicate. The blade and the handle appeared to be equal in length. The blade seemed to be exuding a mine blue flash, and there was also a scary-looking carving on the side of it. He waved his left hand and produced a huge empty plate before him effortlessly. At the same time, 9 similar-looking cucumbers flew towards him. Is he actually cooking? But why would he use such a small knife? That knife is even smaller smaller than the carving knife I used to make soul tools. Hu Yuao continued watching with many questions in his head. The young man suddenly muttered in a melodic way, startling changes begin where the masterful hand lands. Carving strokes ripple through the masterpiece 100 times. This ancient art shall outlast eternity. The raised knife, like a crescent moon, will illuminate the cold spring. A Mayan bluish glow. The knife revolved around the plate at a rate which made it hard for anyone to make out its shape. Even though it was hard to follow the movement of the knife, Hu Yuao could make out the carvings on the cucumbers, which were made with every syllable the young man muttered. Green pieces of cucumber skin were ejected by the knife as they drifted and fell to the side. After the last syllable was uttered, a total of 261 cuts had been delivered. A circle of cucumber skin fell neatly around the plate, forming a perfect circular pattern of black and green stripes. The size of the skin fragments were all exactly the same, but what was most astounding was the carving that lay above the circle of skin fragments. 9 jade black dragon carvings carved out of cucumber stood proudly at the center of the plate. The carvings were delicate and possessed beautiful features like the horns, the whiskers and the pearls of a dragon. The amount of skill required to pull this off was just unbelievable. Hu Yuao couldn't believe his eyes. It was the first time he had ever witnessed such remarkable knife handling skills. This was beyond any mere carving act. This was the creation of a masterpiece. Hu Yuao was extremely skilled at creating soul tools and had spent plenty of time mastering the art of carving. However, all his work was done according to diagrams and instructions. What he had just witnessed was art infused with creativity, and that was simply breathtaking. The young man with the golden hair stole a glance at Hu Yuao and revealed a smile. He extended his left hand and waved it. This act sent the huge plate into the air. There was a dense layer of cloud which appeared to be holding the plate in midair. The cloud gave off a cold aura which was not particularly intense. As the young man swept his left hand horizontally, the plate began to spin at an unbelievable speed. Whenever the bottoms of the cucumbers spun before his eyes, the Mayan bluish glow, the knife, would flicker. After 3 rounds or so, even though Hu Yuao had long lost count of how many cuts the knife had made, the young man's hand appeared to have only budged a bit. More green skin fragments fell to the bottoms of the cucumbers, forming the shape of 9 clouds. They contrasted against the jade green dragon tails which had just taken shape. At that very instant, it looked as though the 9 cucumbers on the plate had come to life. They looked like 9 green dragons which were encircling the cloud-like support structure, which in turn was suspending the revolving plate. The dragons looked so real that they appeared to be playing with one another and chatting amongst themselves. The young man with the golden hair made a tap with his left hand as a small, delicate ice ball formed at the tip of his finger. With a simple flick, the ice ball floated towards the plate and landed at the center of all 9 dragon heads. At that very instant, the 9 cucumber dragons suddenly started to move. The 9 green dragons leapt upwards to different heights and extended their bodies. That was when Hu Yuao realized how the dragon bodies were merely connected by the thin fibers of the cucumber slices. Even though their connection appeared to be delicate and feeble, the dragons were never broken. The 9 jade dragons were competing against one another for the pearl-like ice ball as they leapt and ducked to fight for it. Under the cover of the icy cloud, it looked as though 9 jade dragons had come to life. The plate had become their world as the 9 dragons wove in and out of the clouds in an unpredictable way. With a wave of his left hand, the plate which carried the 9 dragons glided to the side of the kitchen. The young man turned around and smiled at the stupefied Hu Yuao. That is today's first dish, but I'm sorry, you won't be able to try it. It was only now that Hu Yuao finally regained his composure. He remarked, "Senior, your knife handling skills are out of this world. It's unbelievable." At this moment, he could not find any words to describe his feelings. The young man merely smiled and asked, "Do you want to learn it? The intricacies of my rain dragon's dance carving technique have already been perfected and integrated by me over the years. It has now come to the stage where it transcends all skills and techniques." Hu Yuao almost blurted out how much he wanted to learn it, but still, he managed to keep his wits about him as he hesitated. He asked, "Your carving technique is beyond mystical. There must be some conditions which I have to fulfill in order for you to teach me, right?" The young man with the golden hair nodded and replied, "Not bad. You're pretty bright. You're right. There is no free lunch in this world. Take a look at my dish. Its name is Icy Clouds of the 9 Azure Dragons. It was my masterpiece when I first started to make a name for myself in the world of artistic carving." Hu Yuao remained focused as he asked, "So what would you need me to do for you?" The young man smiled. "Don't worry about it. It can only be a good thing. My condition is simple. If you want to learn my carving technique, you must inherit my godly seat." Godly seat? After hearing these 2 words, Hu Yuao was shocked beyond belief. He had finally connected the dots. The human before me, no, the god before me, is not human. No wonder he was able to abduct my soul and bring me to this paradise so easily. So, could this be the world of the gods? So, gods exist in this world? At this very instant, Hu Yuao felt like he was going through a mental breakdown. He had so many questions in his head, yet he was still suffering from the shock which he had just heard. All this while, even though his aim was to attain the godly seat and help his spirits move on to another world to live eternally, deep down inside, he was always doubtful about the existence of gods. He was unable to determine if gods really existed, even though he had some sort of sensation which hinted at the possibility of their existence. It was but a very minor sensation. But at this very instant, when an actual god was standing before him, he could not conceal the excitement and shock inside him. Everything is real. The god realm exists. Gods do exist. I can't believe it. The young man with the golden hair revealed a smile. Are you surprised? Actually, because of your cultivation and meditations, you have long come close to becoming a god. However, to truly transcend your mortality and become a god, you'll still have to overcome plenty of challenges. Please advise me. Hu Yuao politely asked the young man for advice. Hu Yuao knew nothing about the god realm. However, he really wanted to know everything and anything about it. Since he knew that the god before him was not malevolent, he decided to ask for more information. The young man with the golden hair smiled. Actually, what we term as the god realm is but the classification of people who have elevated their abilities to a level of purity which is similar to that of the natural elements. As our cultivation level increases, our understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth improves. This improved understanding allows us to enter this place. You can actually think of the god realm as a realm formed from the purest energies. It is like a world beyond many worlds. Any cultivating human would be able to enter the god realm when they possess both a godly seat and abilities which are sufficiently powerful to receive approval from the god realm. It doesn't matter what their cultivation methods are. Then how does a godly seat come into play? Hu Yuao asked. The young man with the golden hair replied, "At the end of the day, there is limited space in the god realm. There is only a set amount of humans it can hold. Hence, in order to enter the god realm, one needs a place, or rather a seat, which belongs to him or her. Godly seats have a very complex relationship with our understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Any change in the ownership of a godly seat would often hint at an incoming change in the god realm. Usually, there are a few possible scenarios or reasons why there would be a change in ownership of a godly seat. For example, if the owner happens to die in the pursuit of advancing his or her understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth, a successor is required to inherit his or her godly seat. Also, if an owner decides to leave the god realm to seek knowledge and enlightenment which lies beyond the god realm, he or she must give up his or her godly seat to an inheritor." As he finished his sentence, he stared deeply at Hu Yuao, as though he was suggesting something. Hu Yuao spoke. "So if you were to pass your godly seat to me, it would be for the latter reason. Then, how many godly seats are there in the god realm?" The young man with the golden hair shook his head and admitted, "I'm afraid I don't have the answer to your question. Our god realm controls 108 different worlds. Among the different worlds, some of them are known as the gifted worlds, and the Dulo continent happens to be one of them. A gifted world is a world where its people are more gifted, and are much more likely to attain god status. Even though I did not come from the same continent as you, I came from another gifted world. The people who are truly in control of the number of gods are those who preside over the god realm judicial committee. The committee consists of 2 god kings and 3 judges. If you can enter the god realm in the future, you will naturally understand what I'm talking about. In the god realm, other than the 5 people on the committee, the strongest gods are called the core gods. There are 32 core gods in the god realm. Under them are the rest of the gods, and because I happen to be one of the 32 core gods, I assure you it would not be an insult to you if you were to accept my godly seat. seat. Who are you? Al asked. Then why are the soul beasts in my continent unable to become gods? The young man with the golden hair smiled and shook his head. Actually, it is extremely difficult for any beast to evolve into a god. The god realm has never stopped them from joining us. It is simply down to their lack of understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Most beasts, other than those from advanced species like the dragons, do not possess a high intelligence when they are born. Even dragons take a long time to develop fundamental mental capabilities. Hence, most of them are unable to absorb their Shanchan energy during their birth. This becomes a huge barrier for their future cultivation. Thus, even though humans do not live as long as beasts, our intelligence and absorption of our Shanchan energy allows us to possess incredible learning and cultivation ability compared to other species. The moment our intelligence becomes ours, our journey to becoming stronger will become a lot smoother compared to any other species. Who are you? Took in a deep breath as he tried to take everything in. Then why would you pass your godly seat to me? This is a paradise which you cannot find in the worlds of mortals. And here, you have your family with you. Isn't this good enough for you? The young man revealed an awkward expression as he hesitated before sighing. He replied, I won't lie to you. While there are plenty of advantages that come with being a god, you will suffer from the sense of loneliness. Those gods who can reside peacefully in the god realm for prolonged periods of time are those who can withstand loneliness. Because a god can get anything he or she wants in the god realm, there is an unfortunate absence of bliss and happiness. After passing my godly seat to you, I will bring my family to look for another god realm and experience what life is in the worlds beyond that. Another god realm? Who are you? Al blurted. Hold on. There's more than one god realm out there. The young man with the golden hair smiled. Of course. Our god realm might control 108 worlds. But what about the other worlds? Our worlds are boundless, and I believe there must be other god realms in the vast space out there. And that is what I hope to do, to journey out far beyond to find these realms. I have resided in this god realm for many years, and continuing such a plain life is not what I want. My children will descend into the mortal worlds to train after I leave with my wives to seek out the other god realms. Who knows? I might return one day, even though I would have lost my godly seat. Hopefully to you, I can still create my own little haven in the god realm with my abilities. After saying so much, what's your decision? Do you want to inherit my godly seat? Who are you? Al paused for a short while before asking. Senior, may I know why you chose me? The young man with the golden hair replied, because I have found many similarities between your experiences and mine. I have been silently observing what you have been through, and I feel that you have surpassed me in many ways. At the very least, you are a lot more faithful to your loved one. While he was finishing up this last line, he could not help but give an awkward smile. I was not able to remain faithful to my partner, and this failure affected my cultivation. Even though I was able to integrate my learnings and abilities before I attained god status, my unbecoming lifestyle had affected my cultivation. If not, with my abilities, I would have possessed the power to challenge one of the 5 seats in the committee. I hope that you can surpass me after obtaining my godly seat and ascend to the pinnacle of success within the god realm. Ascend to the pinnacle of success within the god realm? The young man's voice might be calm, but it invigorated the competitiveness within Who are you? Al. Who are you? Al took a deep breath before asking the question that was plaguing him. So, what do you need me to do? Or rather, what kind of tests do I need to go through? The young man with the golden hair nodded and said, you have already gone through enough tribulations in your life. Even though those challenges were not issued by me, I have seen how you have persevered through those tough times. Selecting the successor to a godly seat has always been a process infused with a huge element of luck and chance. Your understanding and potential in ice type techniques, as well as the way you invest your emotions into your soul skills, made me choose you. Of course, you will still have to go through other evaluations, but they will not be issued by me. I can now plant the godly seed within you. Once your cultivation level is high enough, I will ferry you into the god realm. The ultimate test you will have to face is what you already know. You will have to stop all your other competitors who will be trying to stop you from qualifying for the god realm. Once you are done with that, you will see me again. There was absolutely no reason for Huo Yue to turn down his offer. As a human, he had long been cultivating and training to enter the god realm. Senior, after I have become a god, can I bring my loved ones to the god realm? The young man with the golden hair smiled. Of course you can. After inheriting my core godly seat and becoming a god, you will have the right to bring some of your loved ones into the god realm. As with any other world, the stronger you are, the more weight your words will carry in the god realm. So if you want to bring more people into the god realm, you will have to put in a lot more work and effort. After hearing his words, Huo Yue no longer had any doubts. He respectfully bowed before the young man and announced, I am willing to inherit your godly seat. After those simple words came out of Huo Yue's mouth, the young man's body started to give off a golden glow. Huo Yue's soul form also started to shine as his body took on a golden glow. The smile on the young man's face disappeared, and it was replaced with a solemn and serious expression. Huo Yue. From today onwards, you will be the successor to my godly seat. As a member of the god realm, I am not allowed to interfere with matters in the worlds beneath the god realm. However, after possessing my godly seed, your journey to becoming stronger will be a lot smoother. My godly seat is named emotion. The better you understand emotions, the smoother the process of inheritance will be. As he spoke, he raised his right hand and extended his index finger before tapping Huo Yue's forehead. At that instant, Huo Yue's entire body trembled. He felt as though his body had become clear and transparent. Under the intense trembling, his soul seemed to have been cleansed by a mysterious power. Suddenly, Huo Yue felt his spiritual energy change. It did not become stronger. Instead, it had evolved into something grander and more deserving of reverence. This sensation felt strangely familiar. He had felt it during his encounters with the Calamity Necromancer, Electrolux. This must be what the divine sense feels like. Yes. That is what you people call divine sense. After accepting my godly seed, a part of your consciousness and your soul will turn into divine sense. As your cultivation continues to improve, it will evolve more into a more complete divine sense. But I must remind you not to release your divine sense at any point in time unless you are in a life and death situation. If someone were to take away your godly seed, you would die. Also, my godly seed will be wrested away from me. Thus, you must be extremely careful for yourself and for your family. I would suggest you keep your godly seed a secret. Do not tell anyone, including your loved ones, about it. Yes. Huo Yue respectfully acknowledged the man's instructions. His heart was brimming with happiness after sensing the improvement of his soul. The young man smiled. Besides giving you my godly seed, I have 2 other things for you. I believe they will allow you to grow faster and become my successor sooner. They will be planted into your body along with the divine sense I have given you. Remember my words, regardless of whether it pertains to your cultivation or your emotions. Being faithful, dedicated and focused will be your greatest strength. Now go on. As he spoke, the young man waved his hand, and Huo Yue felt his surroundings become illusory. At that very instant, his soul form could no longer sense or perceive his surroundings. He found himself surrounded by golden sparks, as though everything had ceased to be real. Remember me. I am the god of emotions, and my name is Rong Nianbing. As his mind reverberated with Rong Nianbing's words, Huo Yue slowly lost consciousness. As Huo Yue's soul disappeared before him, Rong Nianbing revealed a sly smile as he continued to prepare his delicacies. Did you choose that young lad because of his potential in cooking? A light flashed, and the old man who had played chess with Rong Nianbing appeared by the young man's side. Rong Nianbing smiled. There's definitely a little bit of that, but it's a little too late to start learning now. Also, I needed him to take over my godly seat as soon as possible. If not, I would have taken him in as my disciple, and passed on the top-class cooking skills you taught me in the past. The old man hissed, but you might have gone overboard this time round. This lad was already handpicked by that guy. You should know very well how much that guy would hate you if he were to know that you've intervened. Rong Nianbing chuckled. That would be his fault for not seeing this coming. Anyways, even if Huo Yue were to inherit my godly seat, it would still do him good. It would be so much better for him to gain the support of another core god than for him to give up a core godly seat, right? The only problem is that he can't afford to be lazy anymore. But I can. Don't you want to travel with me to the other god realms? The old man laughed. You are still the decisive one between us. Now that all is said and done, even if he were to uncover what we have done, he would have no way of reversing it. All he can do is vent his frustrations on that poor lad. You know what? I am starting to feel sorry for that young boy. All of you cunning folks are really bad people, picking on a young man like him. Rong Nianbing replied casually. One can only improve and become better if he or she can handle the hardships of life. When I told him about my wish for him to ascend the pinnacle of this god realm, I meant every single word I said. Also, I feel that my abilities are better suited to him. Don't you agree with me? Yes. You're always right. Now go and prepare lunch. I'm already famished. Yes, my dear master. Golden. It was still golden. When Hua Yuan woke up, he realized he was still cultivating with Tang Wutong. They were still drawing upon their soul power and improving their Hadong power. While they were basking in their mutual love for one another, their Hadong power seemed to have improved. Within the rapidly flowing fluid, the golden spirals had expanded to twice their original size. Even though these spirals were unable to compress as much soul power as soul cores, they were able to contain more soul power than the usual medium. This allowed their soul power to continually expand and increase as they mixed and combined with one another. Was all of that a dream? Could it be some sort of hallucination? After Hua Yuan woke up, he started to think back to the out-of-body experience he had earlier. That young man with the golden hair, that paradise, that pavilion, the god of emotion, and the godly seat. Were those things real, or just products of my imagination? If it was all real, that would be insane. The beast god Ditian must have thought that he would be able to seal me with his reverse scale, but he didn't know it wouldn't even be able to detect it when a real god decided to intervene and take action. As he mulled over what had happened, Hua Yuan focused on his soul power and felt the changes in it. Very soon, he realized, much to his surprise, that the increase in strength and solidity of the Hadong power whenever he and Tang Wutong circulated it was not a result of any change in their cultivation methods. The spirals that allowed their soul power to become more condensed were the product of an inherent change within his soul power. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.